Hey everybody, welcome to the State of the Market for February 2026. Al?
Bill, how you doing today?
Good. Looking forward to this. As you and I were talking beforehand, we've kind of been a little out of touch, so it's going to be fun to see what some of this stuff sold for and what's kind of, if it's something new or if it's kind of the same old, or, um, especially with the World Cup coming, like, are people focusing on specific things? And so unfortunately, I'm not in touch with everything right now, but that's okay. That's why we do this, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, do you have any like high level views of what you think the market's up to?
I mean, it kind of just at the stuff I was looking at, like I didn't feel like anything was selling for more than I expected, but it's just kind of the same old of things, at least from what I glossed over. But other than that, I really don't have a good grasp on February. It just, life's kind of been busy and it's been hard to kind of dig in yet. So how about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't bought a lot. I kind of had been distracted in other things, life, other kind of segments of collection. I actually beefed up my some Formula One stuff, but what I generally think I'm seeing is just a continued crazy amount of strength in the modern market and just a general drying up of premium kind of vintage cards. Like you just don't, maybe we'll see some, maybe have been missing them, but it just feels like the inventory, like when I do a PWCC or Fanatics Collect search, and you do it by earliest year, it'll be like a couple pages and you're already in the 2000s.
Yeah.
And then there's like, 17 pages of the 2000s and 3 pages of pre 2000. And I think it's just you're starting to see, and this has always been both a positive and a negative of soccer, is cards just finding more permanent homes. Like, maybe they're not forever homes, but they're much more permanent. And so you get less rotation. And that rotation is generally good for prices because you're not seeing things all the time. So when something comes out that you want, people usually stretch a little more than they would if they don't see it. But it also can be like disheartening and frustrating. And some people can kind of just move on. Right.
Right.
If there's not a lot of movement. And I think we're kind of nearing, at least from my vantage point, a little bit of that second case where you just don't see stuff. And so people stop looking. I have no idea. I mean, I look whenever I can, right? But I just wonder if we're getting in a place like that. I hope not, but certainly there's a lot of interest in holding good cards right now.
Yeah. Why don't we take a look? Let's see what's going on at the Golden Elite right now and see if anything kind of pops out to us.
Sure.
If I can, old guy trying to figure out how to work tabs. So, and we'll probably scroll and we're going to be like, look at all this modern, but that makes sense, right?
Right.
A lot of Yamals, a lot of Messi, Ronaldo, both of them, Mbappe.
Kaboom's 32 grand, 26 grand. Kaboom to your bank account.
Yeah.
All this dynasty stuff. I mean, some of it's really nice looking. Yes, some of it's really nice looking stuff, right? I mean, but it's like, man, like look at that. Look at that Prism right there, the Drogba, 15 grand. I know it's a 101, right? I think.
Yep, these are those 101s that people
101.
bid on online.
Yeah.
When they were originally sold.
Yeah, 10 grand.
Yeah, where's our first?
You haven't seen a vintage card yet,
No.
right? Another kaboom, 9,000.
Wow, this is crazy, huh?
Right? It's just like, I mean, and these are not. This isn't pocket change. You know,
No.
all you've been scrolling is like 5 grand or more. There's an Aquarella.
Yeah, PSA 4, black number,
For
5
less than
grand.
5 grand. So I think that's feels kind of low.
Yeah, I agree with that. Here's the 69 Puma promo Cruyff for 2,000 signed.
Those are hard.
Yeah, this is here's a 54 World Cup. Is that the final? Oh, West Germany versus Hungary. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
PSA 7 Maradona for 1,300.
It seems very light to me.
Yeah.
But the borders look super skinny.
Yeah, I think that's exactly why.
Yeah.
1936 Berlin Olympic Games, men's soccer gold final, Austria versus Italy.
Interesting.
So we've seen more vintage tickets than
vintage
cards or stickers. Yeah. PSA 6 Alifa team card for 850.
There was one time when those team cards were like in the thousands.
Oh, for sure. Feels like a deal relative.
Yeah.
Puskas signed 8x10 or 11.5, $400. Beckett.
It's kind of cool.
And Russia versus England in the 58 World Cup. Lev Yashin's debut.
World Cup, yeah.
For $220. So not too much vintage in this elite. So there was one other elite auction this month, the winter vintage elite auction. There was 15 soccer items. So PSA 2 Alifa for 10 grand. Pele's debut ticket in the World Cup versus Soviet Union, 4,500. Here's a PSA 2 Aquarella blue for 1,900. Leonidas player registration for 1,100.
Cool.
Yeah. 1928 Uruguay team signed stationery with Andrade Scadone for 1,100.
That's cool.
Dagia signed player registration.
I like those.
Yeah, for 850. Everything else is kind of same old, but those are pretty cool.
Yeah. That's certainly stuff you don't see every day.
Yeah, for sure. All right, not a lot to talk about there, you know?
Not much at all. I mean, I guess the Alifa 2 at 10 seems slightly light, maybe. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's probably in the range of reasonableness relative to other sales. And really for vintage in the weeklies, this was the only thing I saw. This Americana BGS authentic altered for 3,700.
Yeah, and that one's completely torched.
Yep. But not too many of those out there.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Fanatics Collect. We'll go to the Premier auction first. All right, so from this gold wave Messi and to the left, and then I'll be scrolling up So here's a PSA 9 Mega Cracks Messi for 72K. A PSA 10 sticker Renault CR7 rookie for 66.
That's up a bit. I think the last one was like 50, I think.
I mean, the centering looks a little
Like not perfect for a 10 for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Now it doesn't have to be perfect for a 10.
Correct. But if I'm getting a 10 and I'm paying up for something, I think that would be one of the most important things for me personally.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I want something that the centering looks perfect to my eye.
Yeah, I'd almost rather have like a ding somewhere, like, you know, that wasn't apparent than that. But teach their own. And I mean, getting a 10 of that.
Did you see the gold team sets for the US?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I thought that was an interesting time to sell this. Like I would have probably looked to sell this closer to the World Cup.
Yeah.
And get some crossover gold guys, you know?
For sure. And maybe that's who the buyer decides to do, you know?
Yeah. Maybe we'll see it again in a few months.
See if they break it up.
Yeah. I think you would do better breaking that one up.
I think you're right.
Man, look at those gold prisms.
Yeah, so there was really no vintage.
Nope. That's what that's just,
I mean, the CR7 is the closest thing.
It's exactly the feeling that I have. It's just like there's no vintage anywhere to be seen.
Nope. We got some comments here. LB says he's hearing they might postpone the World Cup. I've not heard any of that.
Yeah, me neither.
I haven't been dialed into the news at all, to be honest with you. So, like, I've heard that may be talked about, but I haven't even seen people talking about that in the Discord.
I mean, I heard much more talk about that when the shit was hitting the fan in Guadalajara in Mexico. You know, with the cartel shutting down the streets and everything, that they may think about moving the Guadalajara games.
Oh, gotcha.
But
yeah, that makes sense.
That's the only thing I've heard.
Yeah, that makes actually a lot of sense. What's in worse shape, that Americana or my Maradona disc? I don't think there's a question on the answer. That Americana still has its shape. I'll just say that. Oh, I love that disc. Is it really? Can we really call it a disc?
No, you got to call it a football or
an American football
oval.
Or
an oval.
Yeah, an oval. There we go.
Or used to be a disc.
Oblong.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, the artist formerly known as Disc. All right, let's go to the weeklies. Oh, shit.
The weeklies, I think there's a little bit more action. Not a tremendous amount, but still, you know, some stuff that you don't see every day.
Yeah, let me find the right tab. I kind of messed that up. Okay, so this is the 215. So this was last week's.
Yeah, so the Messis came down. They're getting a little bit of a bounce because it was kind of on a free fall here the last couple months. I mean, last couple days or weeks, months, whatever. The last bit. Nice bloomer.
Yep, that's actually mine. I sold it, so.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, maybe I did know that. That's, I mean, how do you feel about that price? I feel like it's pretty solid.
Yeah, I think it's yeah, I'm sorry, I was reading somebody's comment. I think I'm fine with it. Like you always want more, of course, but like I think it's reasonable. And
yeah,
like I was thinking around $2,000.
Yeah. I
think I netted like 16 something with the sale. So
I was thinking there would probably be somewhere between 1,500 and $2,000.
Yep, and here we are.
And then it was right there at 1,900. And a 3 is a tough grade in that one.
Yeah. I love that Americana too. I would love to have it. So yeah, I'm fine with it. It's probably it's right in the range of reasonableness. Um, Here's a Hoffman for 840. Here's the
The
Clip
German
Bass.
stuff was doing pretty well, actually.
Yeah, it has been.
Yep.
The series Blaston for 780.
6 is a nice grade.
Yeah, that's a nice grade for sure.
Rare card too, and great player. So I was. It was nice to see that kind of do pretty well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been surprised if it did a grand either.
Yep.
Because a 6 is a really hard grade.
Here's a Ben Barrett
400. Good
400
looking card too.
58 Bremer, Fackring, Sealer, PSA 4 for
all
400.
over the place.
I feel like that's light.
Yeah, like I want to say that something. I want to look for it right now. I felt like the last one of those in like a similar grade, but it may have been like a 6 or something. Maybe that's why it went for, I want to say 1,500. I'm trying to find it.
Ed, did you get that Americana out of curiosity? That's what I'm going to read into it.
Yeah, me too.
We were just talking about your
super low pop
your acquisitions lately, Ed. Very impressive.
Yeah, no, a 2 went for, I don't know, a 3 went for 400. Yeah, so maybe
Okay.
it wasn't. Maybe March 1st. Is that this one? That's probably this one.
Yeah.
384. So yeah. So it's not dramatically different. For whatever reason, I had this in my mind of crossing 1,000. Maybe it was a higher grade one a while ago, but oh, here's one, 900 for a 3. Yeah, last in 2024. So down significantly since then, but that was up from other ones. Here's a 15. A 5 went for 1,500. That's the one I was remembering from June of 2024. So, I think that this one definitely feels, your intuition of light is kind of coincides with mine, but there have been some sales more recently, more in this range. So, I think it's a good pickup. It's a great card.
Yeah, anything over a 3 really is pretty solid, right?
Yeah, and there's only 18 graded. And only 11 of them are 3 or higher.
Okay, so about half, a little less than or more than half. All right, let's go to auction 214. PSA 8 Platini rookie for 8,100.
Look clean, this one, and 8,100 sounds like a big number, but I just don't think it's that big a number for that big of a card.
Yeah, getting that good of a grade. I haven't inspected it and seen the back or anything, but
yeah, I looked at it. I wasn't bidding on it. I didn't look at it like super close, but from what I saw, I thought it was good. There's a lot of those that are significantly overgraded.
Yeah.
I think the one thing last year, there was a 7 that was kind of off center, looked a little flush. It was in November, sold for 1,000. So an 8X seems like a pretty big multiplier,
right?
But that 7 wasn't a great 7.
And if you're looking to get one of the top copies of this, it says 1 out of 13 for PSA 8, and there's 6 graded higher.
Yep.
That's got to be a top 10. So
yeah,
I would imagine.
Yeah, there's 128 total graded. So, you're talking certainly top, 15%, and it's a really clean one. So,
yeah,
I don't have a problem with that. I think that if you saw a 7 for $1,000 that you really like the eye appeal for, that's probably where I'd put my money instead of 8 times that for an 8. But certainly this is one of the more elite cards in soccer collecting. What do you think of that Mesa right there? That was interesting. I'd never seen his name spelled like that on the card, but I thought this one did exceedingly well.
Yeah, I think the price for what, there's a lot of 1934 issues. To see it pull a 1800, that's a really good result, in my opinion.
Yeah, me too.
All right, let's see what else. There's the Monty of the same issue for 500.
TTT. That must mean that the back was clean. I didn't remember seeing this one for $500. If it's got a clean back, that's a nice pickup. Yeah, it looks clean.
Yeah, sure does.
Wow, like what's wrong with that? That card looks great. It doesn't even have, a lot of times they're miscut. You can see kind of part of the next card on the right or the left or the top or the bottom. That one looks clean. Maybe there's a surface indentation.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I can't see anything.
It looks fantastic.
I gotta say, I really like this insert. Like the insert for this.
Holding it
nice
and tight.
I think they did a good job because it looks like they have different inserts they can put into the main slab now. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, and then here is the 213 weekly auction.
So would you rather take that Zidane 8 or the Platini 8?
That's a really good question.
I'm going to check the pop on the Zidane. It was 128 on the Platini. It's 153 on the Zidane. And there's also 6 9s and there's 18 8s. So shockingly close.
Yeah. I mean, this is really OC. Left to right.
I would agree with that.
I mean, that alone might lead me to prefer the Platini. But I think like long term, we're going to see more Platinis get graded than Zidanes, like moving forward. So it might end up being more equivalent pops as we like 5 years from now. Yeah, I think I go Platini just because of the eye appeal.
Yeah, I think on these 2 copies, I go Platini. On equally centered ones, I head to Zidane.
I think I agree with that. Yeah.
On the relative. So, yeah, this
PSA 5 Titulares for 4,400.
This is one I wish I would have paid more attention to because I didn't check the back. Maybe there was a problem, but a 5 Titulares is a hard grade.
It looks like there's something here.
Oh, ooh. Well, how did that get a 5? Okay, that may explain it.
Yeah.
You don't see a PSA 9 Cantona there very often.
Yeah, $4,000. Those things were just, remember, like right when everything was going crazy, and then like the first Cantona we saw was like those things were selling for crazy prices. And
I don't really remember what were they selling for.
And maybe it was crazy prices to me because, and it's probably the same price, but like at that time we were just like, what in the hell? Like a 19...
Yeah. I'm gonna see if I can find.
I mean, that still seems like a crazy. Like, I mean, I don't want to use the word crazy because I don't think it's like a foolish price, but it's like, that's a lot.
Top 52, 5 9s, 3 8s.
So you're getting. 7. And he has such a huge following.
Yeah. Let me see back in the day. Yeah, 20. Oh yeah, there was one. The last 9, the 2021 sold for 9,000.
Okay.
That was when it got crazy.
Okay.
And now this one is what, 4,000. So it's
Yeah.
back up to half of that.
Which is actually, it's held pretty well.
And this one isn't particularly like back to your off center. This one's a little off center.
Yep. Yep. It's probably like 30-70.
Yeah. And I'm not sure this gets a 9 today.
Yeah. Oh, I would agree with that.
But it is still one of the 5 9s.
Yep.
So, you know,
don't ever send that in for anything.
Don't send it in for any other reason.
Here's a Ruby Toti for 3,600
card too. How much did that go for?
3,600.
Ooh, that also the only 9?
It's a Pop 101, none graded higher.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big card to me.
Yeah. 62 Lampo.
That's a big card and big grade.
PSA 8 for 3,100. These 86 Americana Romarios.
You know, I didn't love particularly this 5. It looked like it just didn't look right to me. The 1.5, which is sold, looked right to me.
Yeah, I think we'll get to that in this. I think they went sold in the same auction.
Yeah, they did, which is also kind of bizarre. But yeah, that 5, it just, the coloring didn't seem right. The paper on the back didn't seem right. But it is a 5 right now. I would just be a little nervous about that one. That was a cool card.
Yeah, it's, you know, having both of them uncut. That's pretty cool for 1,000.
That's a cool Mesa right there too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you don't see too many of these. And actually, like when I see scans of them, I never realized they were as big as they are. I always envision them being smaller.
Smaller, yeah. I think it's pretty cool. Like I wish I would have tracked that one a little better. And now you can see, here's the other Romario that I was talking about. That the image just looks better. The colors look better.
They both look pretty washed out though.
Yeah, I mean, it's just generally not a great issue. It's a pirated, low quality issue.
Yeah,
but the one up on top just didn't look great.
All right.
Some nice German cards. These are really nice.
Yeah, those Casanovas are not easy.
No, and those are good grades, great looking cards, clean backs. I mean, those are hard boxes to check on those cards.
All right, let's oh, yeah, this was a question in our that popped up in our premium. How much steam the Fanatics vintage specials every 10 weeks will lose now that there's no 110% for sale for the sellers? Yeah, that's a tough question to answer. I think that you're just going to see people less motivated to wait till the weeks with the end in 0, basically. Like, I mean, if I have something that I want to sell, you know,
no reason
auction to wait. 225, I'm not going to wait till 230 just because there's a tab at the top that says,
yeah, there's a filter.
Yeah, a filter, exactly. So I can't imagine that it's going to be as exciting as it's been in the past, just because I think that the inventory is going to be less amazing overall.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
All right, now we're going to go to the Fanatics Fixed. And let's see if there's anything that catches our eye here. 64 Panini Pele PSA 4 for 1,000. That's fun.
Oh, those are interesting packs.
Yes, the 62 Miras.
The Mira packs. Wow, I like that set a lot.
I wonder if they're actually open packs or if they're full packs. I have to imagine they're full, right?
Who knows? I mean, that paper's so thin, most of the time you can see what's in them.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Evaristo Dolar for 500.
A 4 is a tough grade in those. Not a lot of big dollar movements. There's a Messi.
Yeah, PSA 4 Messi. A BGS 8 Messi.
Some small dollar. Oh, look at that. Totti goes for 1,200.
Yeah, PSA 9. 1 of 8 with none higher.
It's a cool card.
Mm-hmm. $0.99 for this Paul Scholes.
Fantastic. What a great result.
PSA 1 Titulares for 1,000.
That one really depends how the back is.
Yeah, I mean the front looks amazing. Just
it does look great. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure the back's a little dinged up, but let's see.
I mean, if it's a 1,
it's pretty clean overall. Like
it's not bad
for a 1. Yeah,
I think that's a good pickup.
Yeah, I agree.
Some yeah, more rookies. A Hoffman,
Alex Ferguson,
450 seems about right. The Rosetta. Oh, cool Alcantara there. I love that card.
The Orthe.
I don't love the slab, but I love that card so much.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. 66 Crack Pele for 300. That's lowest I've seen that sell for in a while.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I can't believe that Ronaldo there. That one, $700 for that 2003 alleged.
Oh yeah.
Man.
PSA 10, 35.
Wow.
Campeon for 25,000.
Beckenbauer 175.
Yeah. Getting a 2 in that, so it's actually pretty solid.
PSA 8 Messi rookie. What else you got here? The Schiaffino Tingles.
Yeah.
Ooh,
and Vava. The Americano.
Look at the Vava for 900.
Oh yeah, OMB.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So one more. Man, this seems like we're just flying through this, doesn't it?
I know. Well, there's just not, like I said at the beginning, it just felt like not a tremendous amount of vintage.
Wondering from our point of views, why has this vintage soccer scene not been picking up much steam during a World Cup year? A lot of times people are focusing more on World Cup years versus vintage. Usually if we see a run on vintage, it usually happens after the World Cup because people start to think about that a little bit more. But when on the build up to the World Cup, people are more thinking about the current players and things like that. And just the fact that people are kind of holding on to their vintage. We're not seeing a ton of it sell anyway.
Yeah, I think that's spot on.
And how will vintage and soccer cards be able to keep itself relevant in a liquid market once the World Cup is over? I mean, to what extent is it just American ignorance towards the sport as a whole? I don't necessarily think that that's a big deal because there's just not a lot of inventory.
Yeah, I mean, it's really super supply constrained generally because all these issues are made in different parts of the world in very, very small markets when you compare versus America. So the pops are incredibly small on vintage, and you don't rely on the World Cup to boost the market that much. You do see some interest, and you know, when they start to talk about, oh, who's the only player to win 3 World Cups? Well, Pele, and then you'll see like something on Pele, and you'll get some spikes on typically Pele, Maradona.
Yeah, those are the two
Are
biggies
the
for
two that
sure.
typically get a lot of, but depending on who is progressing in the World Cup, you start to hear more about the greats of those countries.
Yeah.
You know, so like one example that I gave on my 2026 what do you call it? What do I even call that? Predictions for the soccer card market is it's if Portugal and England went far, and especially if they were on opposite sides of the bracket or on the same, they were going to potentially hit. You may see, you know, throwbacks to the 1966 England team that won, and you'd see, you know, comparisons about how great Eusebio was, and then you start to get maybe some potential interest in those players brought about by the progression of the modern day teams that are linked to their stories. So, but it's very tangential as opposed to Holland goes out and scores a hat trick against France and gives them the number 1 spot in their group. His cards are going to run, you know? So that's basically that's basically that. And then on the modern side, you know, we again in my video, not to keep plugging my video, but
Hey,
I
keep plugging
actually,
it.
yeah, I go through the ones that may have the best chance to potentially have runs versus the ones that may not. And you know, to cut to the chase here with some of the names you had, of course, if CR7 won one, that would be gigantic for him because then he's basically back
Yeah.
with Messi. If Messi wins or loses, you know, probably not that big a deal. Nobody really expects him to win again. He's already won, so not a feather in his cap he necessarily needs. But other players like, you know, if Mbappe wins, if even Holland has a run with Norway, it doesn't need to, he doesn't need to win. But if Kane wins, or, you know, some of the English players, you know, that would help. And I think the expectations are probably just too high on Spain that even if they win, you know, can Lamine Yamal, it's my dyslexia here, even that, can they go up from here? I mean, they're already trading beyond what Messi does, you know, so there's so much success priced into those cards that
Yeah.
that I just feel like there's so much more downside, especially if Spain craps out early. You know, they get a bad draw in the group stage and they just have a bad game, and it just takes one bad game in the World Cup and you're gone. So anyway, I think that there's most of the focus and movement, positive and negative, occurs in the modern segment, but there is some element of those trickling down to vintage. And ultimately, some collectors just come in and then they find out, wow, I don't feel comfortable spending thousands of dollars on a Lamine Yamal, you know, numbered card when there's 27,493 in his rookie year. Why don't I just go after a Puskas rookie where there's 18 graded total, right? So that, and then you'll get some people that decide that that's a risk preference that they'd rather take.
Yeah, and so like when we're talking about modern and how will the modern be able to keep itself relevant once the World Cup's over? I mean, American Ignorance is definitely an impact for modern more so than vintage for me. You just hope that there's more people that get interested in it because of the World Cup, and you maintain some of that. Now, how material is adding 10% soccer collectors to modern? I'm not really sure. But if you were to add, like, that's not really the water I play in, right? Like, but if you add 10% vintage soccer collectors, I mean, that's just a monstrous uh, impact on prices for vintage. Um, So it's hard to say. I mean, what we usually see is a blip, like a bump during the World Cup. Then we see it drop a little bit. Then we see it come back, but it always takes a step up a little bit. Like it's always, you're not going to see, like let's say Mbappe gets to the final and people are just paying huge money for Mbappe, and then they lose the final. You're going to see a drop in that no matter what. It doesn't matter how many new collectors there are, because people are paying up specifically for the, in case he wins and he's won another World Cup. So if you're looking at individual instances, I'm a little unsure that like you're gonna be able to keep those prices. But as a whole, like if you were gonna do like a some sort of fund with soccer cards in general, you're gonna see a percentage higher basically every World Cup. It's just because you are building a broader base of collectors, even if it's not
some
50%.
Of them stay. I think the event tends to draw in casual or new soccer fans because the event is amazing. So, I'm sure a lot of people were, get excited about the World Cup, watch a game, go to a game, and they may be basketball collectors and are like, what's out there for soccer? And then as soon as they find out that there's Prism, things that they know, that they don't need to be explained, they don't need to be coached, they get into that, right? And then maybe there's a few vintage people who understand bizarre regional issues and, are fine with different sizes, and they become more comfortable with some of the vintage options out there. So, but what we've seen is outside of 2022, where there was a whole bunch going on in the market, and it was just kind of a fuzzy time in the market in general. Almost always a bump across the board, hitting modern much more, and the particular players that did well, and a lag with vintage to where it was like at the end of the World Cup and maybe for the next couple months where people got kindled their interest. They start to research, they read books, they read stuff online, and then they get, somewhat interested in the space. So, honestly, I believe that that we are incredibly well positioned to get a significant amount of new blood into the hobby because it's in the US, because modern broadly is doing crazy well, cards are doing well.
Yeah, just cards in general.
Just in general.
Yeah.
And I just think that we're going to see a lot of very interesting people people becoming very interested in soccer, and many of them staying. Not all, right, but certainly many of them.
Yep. He says that went to a show with a Garincha rookie and a Yashin rookie trying to upgrade them, and most of the vendors ignored them and said only modern. And that makes sense. I mean, it's just like any card show. If I go to a card show that's all modern and I'm, you have all the dealers, it's like, and I go up to a dealer that has all modern and I show them vintage, they're not going to be interested. And vintage soccer is such a niche area that going to a random show and I'm not saying you're expecting to, but expecting to see vintage soccer, I mean, that's needle in a haystack kind of thing. You might find a couple cards like randomly, but when we went to SoCo, we had 4 tables and a vintage of the whole show, which had hundreds of tables, and it was all people from our Discord. So like that's just kind of how it is. And it just kind of shows you, they probably broadly the interest isn't there yet, but we have 1,300 members. So, I mean, there's enough interest.
Yeah. And there's 3,000 in the Vintage Soccer Facebook page.
Yep. So,
and it's still, grading more in soccer than hockey.
Yep.
So globally, and of course that includes modern, but so does hockey. I think that there's, again, lots of reasons to be, cautiously optimistic. I wouldn't be selling my house and putting it into vintage soccer cards, like as my big bet on the future, but it certainly feels pretty secure to me. I'm not hearing you, but that may be a me issue.
Nope, it was a me issue. Is the majority of vintage soccer then mainly being sold on eBay, Fanatics Collect, and just online more than in person? I would say yes, especially in the States. I mean, there's probably, shows in the UK and Italy and probably Germany that like there's more vintage being sold than here in the States. But I would still, I still believe that the majority is being done from home to home.
And I would say that when I go to the National, and you're talking like thousands and thousands and thousands of tables, I never expect to find a single card that I would buy.
Nope.
So yes, the prospect of finding vintage soccer at any card show, especially US stateside, is incredibly low. The one exception is that's going to be SoCo, and even that, there's not going to be a ton of vintage. It's going to be mostly modern. So
yeah, it's going to be the same knucklehead selling it. So
yeah, so like what you, if you're looking for vintage, I think those are the right areas to hang out with. The buy sell now and the vintage soccer in our Discord, Fanatics, weeklies, eBay on your save searches, and I think between all of those, you'll get a good smattering. You can go to the UK auction houses or sales room if you don't want to go to the individual ones. You can look at some of the European sites, eBay Italy, eBay Germany, Total Collection in Spain, Tradera in Sweden. So you've got all the Mercado Libre sites in Latin America. So you kind of have to do a lot of digging to get fully kind of up to speed on the various markets. It's vintage soccer in general is a lot more work than set your eBay search for one specific Topps Chrome card that numbered to 199 that you'll get spit out every month or so.
Yeah. All right, let's hop into these eBays. Then we have Heritage and a few sale room, and we'll roll from there. So okay. Here's the Scarone, those acetate stick.
Yeah, I like those cards. They're
571 for the
pretty tough.
SGC3. Yep. Let's see here. Here's a Circus Girl Arthur Smith for 1100.
Oh, that's nice. I like that card too. I'd probably say certainly one of the top 5 cards in the set, right?
I think so. Here's the Geo Smith from the set for 6,700.
Yeah, I think that's a good deal, honestly. Super important card.
Let's see. Devi, $785.
That's a good sale.
Bassett for 376. Pretty beat up.
Yeah, pretty beat up. Yeah, I'd say that's another top 5 in the set.
Yep. Here's a Wills Bloomer 3.5 for 600. Monty Gum, Cruyff.
How was the back on that one?
Oh, this one's kind of wonky, from what I recall. Let's see here. Yeah, there's some glue and stuff on it. You can see it like all around here.
Oh, yeah. Those have proven, actually, let me check that out. Those have proven remarkably hard. Do they put it as a 1971?
70, 71.
What do you think the pop is on that? Just take a wild guess.
45.
It is.
I love how you
I'd say
challenge.
55.
It's what, 55?
No, I'd say 55, and it's 51.
Oh, right in the middle. But you're closer. But if this price is right, you didn't win. I did.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because you can't go over, right?
Correct.
You win.
I'll give you the win though, because this isn't Price is Right.
Yeah. So it's just these seem rare.
Yeah. And here's a 2014 CR7 Auto from Prism, 3200.
Not graded, huh?
No.
At that
All
point,
right.
that's such a big card that I'm a little shocked that, part of me wonders, like, why isn't it graded?
Yeah, like it could be dinged up. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
All right, into Heritage. So here it says here we have a 1929 Copa America final game used soccer ball. Mears Authentic.
What does Mears know about
1929 Copa America? I'll let you say that. I'm just gonna move on.
Yeah.
Here's one from 1916 Copa America. Also, if it's really the case, pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome. $8,000 of hope on those.
Here's a 94 Diego Maradona World Cup training match worn national
With
team cleat.
player provenance. I'd love to see that.
Let's see if we can find it.
Player provenance. All right.
I don't see anything in regards to that.
Somebody
Personally
said
gifted to me by Diego Maradona.
Yeah. Told me he used them. Player provenance. What? He was only here for like a day too before he got kicked out of the country in 94. That's another thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's why it was only training.
Yeah.
But it's match worn.
Yeah. Yeah, this one was crazy to me because I would never buy a card in this slab.
For that price.
76 grand. No way.
Yeah. I'm just be nice, Bill. Be nice.
Be nice. Yeah, be nice.
A lot of these Pele autos that we see here at Heritage.
Just brutal.
And I have the Pele signed 59 Cadet Charlton.
Like, why? Just sign anything.
There's a 9.5 Mega Cracks Messi for 100,000.
Yeah. Was it a true gem or can you even see?
95, 95, 95, 10.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. All right. And last but not least, Sale Room. Let's see if there's anything really of note.
I don't recall.
Oh, here's those Sigarios, Super Sigarios.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
With the Scarone for 4,200 pounds.
Yeah, it's a big price, but it's a big card.
Here's a Drake Scary for 700 pounds, so about $1,000.
Not graded. I'd probably take the Baston if given the choice.
I think I agree. The graded Baston or this ungraded, yeah.
Yeah, graded Baston 6.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah, let's see if there's anything else really of note.
Yeah, I don't outside. Oh yeah, here's the other Charlton.
Yep, the Charlton for 8,200 pounds. So what did people say that worked out to? It was about 14 grand with all the fees and everything.
Yeah.
American. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, having paid just a lot more for my other one, I feel like that's a fair kind of trade off.
Here's a Canard that went for 1,000 pounds.
That's not much. I actually would have expected that to go much higher.
And it has ended.
Huh. Yeah, interesting. And how much did the best go for? Was that,
or maybe it isn't ended? No, it says last bid. Does that mean? No, it hasn't closed. Okay.
Okay, because I figured that would go for more, just like I figured the best would go for more than 800.
Yeah. So the last one that ended was the Charlton.
Yeah.
So. Good
card. Though. Great card.
Jared, I won the only soccer item on Memory Lane auction. They tucked it into the hockey section. It was a Titulares portrait.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Congrats.
Well done.
The great hockey player.
Don't give away your secrets.
Pele, the great hockey player.
Yeah, the great one. Well, so what do you think? Anything? There wasn't a ton.
Yeah, that's exactly was my impression at the beginning. It's like I haven't just seen a lot, and I think that the Fanatics Zero auctions helped to kind of see things every now and then, and you'd kind of get the momentum. So it'll be interesting to see how things happen. It's definitely the modern market is just crazy strong, and let's hope that whole thing doesn't blow up, because that would take away some of the potential vintage collectors that we love to have come into the space.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. These next 6 months are going to be interesting. When we were doing this during COVID, there was a lot of mania about the 2026 World Cup. And
true.
And so I think if we base it off of that, I think we're going to be disappointed. But I think that there's been plenty of run since that happened that if you bought back then, you could have done fine.
I think
unless you bought like right at the peak of 2022, like January 2022,
right?
Then you're probably not. But other than that, I think you would be fine. But it's going to be interesting to see. I think that it's going to be hard to quantify for a while, and I guess we'll find out. Like, there's those index fund, right? Those indexes that are keeping track of soccer. So we'll get a decent idea. They're not the best. We're going to get flooded with soccer, right?
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that I think we'll see a tremendous amount of supply with everyone trying to time it right, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that supply, at least like 2022, can slightly overwhelm the market because people don't have, if everyone's looking to sell, wow, what a great time to buy.
Because there was only like maybe 5 players that really did well in 2022 in regards to cards. And it was just during the tournament. And then when they lost, the faucet shut off. And so that's the concern of playing the game. You typically want to sell the cards before the tournament, not after.
Yeah. You want to sell into the hope that because everyone has hope on day 1.
Yep.
On day 21, the hope is constrained out of 20% of the players,
Yeah.
So you have lost out on your opportunity to sell prior to day 1. Now, of course, if you have the absolute superstar, like, Jack Hughes at the U.S. hockey team, perfect example. You could have bought high grade rookies of his for $100 even before the Olympics, and maybe they were $80 before. So there's a little bit of a run up, but then he becomes massive superstar, the teeth, all the drama, and then they're selling for $500 after. So there's going to be those cases. But in general, if you were just playing it all in aggregate, then, you would want to try to, list your things for sale while there's still hope.
Yep. And let me get tribal, show my tribalism for a second. But for the World Cup gold medal goal, all 4 players on the ice were from Michigan, which is pretty cool.
That is cool. That is cool.
So, all right. Fun stuff. Appreciate everybody that joined us.
You can get tribal anytime, Bill.
We all it's in our our brain very it's just anyway, being dumb. All right. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you on the Discord, and we'll see you in another month.
Take care, everybody.